everybody will have his share of ups and downs. There are so many things that happen all around us, but how we react to a situation is in our hands. So many things are not in our hands, but how we react to it depends on us. So things will go on. You have to believe in yourself. Something or the other will always keep happening. It's not that I've become an IPS officer or somebody becomes a billionaire so their journey is ended. It's never like that. Something or the other will keep happening. But you know the old saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
This is episode number 112 of The Inspiring Talk with top IPS officer Amit Lodha. Welcome back inside yet another episode of The Inspiring Talk. My name is Bijay Gautam. I'm your host for this show. Each week, I interview today's most successful and inspiring personalities to help you realize your inner potential. In today's episode, I'm excited to have Amit Lodha, who is an IPS officer who serves as Inspector General of Police. Amit is one of the brave police officers whose life is nothing short of a Bollywood movie. Amit has executed some of the most dangerous criminal operations, including minimizing Naxal Militants in Begusarai, Bihar. Amit is the author of 2 bestseller books, Bihar Diaries, where he shares the story of going after the most dangerous criminal of Bihar, and the new one, Life in the Uniform, where he shares his life journey. He has been awarded the prestigious President's Police Medal for Gallantry and the Internal Security Medal for his work. In our conversation, we discuss his journey of becoming an IPS officer, how you can develop mental toughness, dealing with life threats, and a lot more. This is one of the very inspiring episodes that you will hear on the Inspiring Talk. Fun fact, his story is being made into a movie, and I'm super excited to share this conversation with you all. Let's get started. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bijay. Thank you so much.
So I was going through your profile and the kind of amazing work that you're doing as a police officer and your role in kind of bringing the crime down in Bihar. And the entire journey, it's really fascinating. We'll get there. We'll talk about all the crazy missions that you have been on, the lessons that you have learned. So I want to start from the very, very beginning. So where did you grow up and what did your parents do? What was your upbringing like?
My father was a doctor, rather, he's still a doctor who is retired from public service, but a doctor never retires otherwise. So, my first 4 5 years of my childhood, they were spent in the Middle East. My father was a doctor there. Then I came back to India and I grew up in Jaipur. I was born in Jodhpur, but I grew up in Jaipur. And I had a good life, very normal life, and good fun life for those days. No internet, no mobile, no cable TV, but lots of cricket, football, and musty with friends. And then I went to IIT Delhi. And then I joined the Indian Police Service.
So when you were growing up as a child, what was your dream? What did you want to become when you grow up?
My maternal side, a lot of them were in the bureaucracy already. They had a strong influence on me. My father's family belonged to the medical profession. All of them were doctors. But somehow, obviously, it's a very noble profession, but it never appealed to me. And I was enamored by the bureaucracy, the civil services, because I could realize even a small decision could change the lives of thousands of people very quickly. And since you were given that responsibility and you were at the helm of affairs, you could actually contribute it along. So though I saw that they had bungalows and cars and all those things, all the glamour that is associated with the bureaucracy in India, but I could see the working also, that how much of a responsibility a senior officer holds in a district, whether he's an IAS or an IPS officer. And then it's a matter of great privilege and pride to be holding such posts. So I was really enamored, very much excited, eager to join the civil services. And of course, IPS always remained my first love.
So you wanted to become an IPS officer, but you went to IIT Delhi. How did that happen?
That is, it's an embarrassing thing to answer. But the fact is that I was fairly good in academics in my school. And once in class 11, I saw that everybody was studying for IIT JEE. They were reading books like Resnick and Halliday, IE Erodo. These are technical books for the preparation of IIT JEE. And I just thought that since these people are doing and I'm better off than most of the students who are preparing for IIT, I think I should also appear for this exam. It was really foolish of me. I had no idea about IIT or engineering per se,
Hmm.
but purely because of looking at my
So it was
peers
not a
and my
pressure from
friends.
your parents. Like,
No, not at all. My parents have always been cool. They've never bothered about anything. I've been very lucky, even for those.
hmm,
Nowadays, I think every parent is cool. But for me, it was a big blessing. For those days, my parents are ultra cool. They never bothered about what I was planning for the future. They were always cool. They had faith in my abilities. That was one thing. And secondly, they were very cool. They were not ambitious. My father was always a relaxed person. And then I went to IIT Delhi and I realized that I've come to the wrong place. IIT itself was a wonderful, wonderful place, great institution, world class infrastructure, wonderful people coming there from all over the country, in fact, from other countries also. And the problem was that I thought that I was a misfit in that place because I was good in academics, but I had no interest in engineering, number one. Number two, in school, I had this notion that I was one of the bright students. And in IIT, you realize that everybody is a genius. Everybody around you is a genius. So
hmm,
the competition, everything changes. So both the factors, the abundance of genius around me and my disinterest in IIT academics made me very sullen, very depressed. I developed a complex that I simply cannot survive in this place. And I started hating myself for making the wrong decision. And I went into my shell.
hmm,
I was always depressed, and I started doing poorly in all my fields, not only academics, but in other fields also, like sports or any
hmm,
extracurricular activity. And I was one of the few people who was unemployed
hmm,
after the end of IIT. So you can imagine I was
hmm.
in a very bad state of affairs that time. But I always dreamed to be an IPS officer,
Yeah.
and I pulled up my socks, pulled myself up immediately after IIT. I don't know
Hmm.
how I changed myself, and
Yeah, so I know that while you are making it sound like it had just been a smooth ride from getting F, D, C grades on your IIT, and then, all of a sudden becoming an IPS officer, you had your fair share of loss of confidence that you went through, and, questioning your own
absolutely,
ability
the
while you
absolute
knew
loss of
that,
confidence.
yeah.
No, no, I'd lost confidence in myself. I was in a bad shape, and everything that could go wrong had gone wrong in my life that time. Every possible thing. So it was a disaster for me. I was in a constant state of depression that time. In fact, I had suicidal thoughts also that I'm the unluckiest
Mm.
person in this world. Everything that can go wrong is going wrong in my life. So it was a very bad, bad period
Hmm.
for me.
What happened after that? Like, you picked up. Is there any incident, or is there something somebody said?
Incident I mentioned in my second book, Life in the Uniform. There was no incident as such, but one of my friends who's the CEO of PolicyBazaar.com, Yashish Dahiya,
Hmm.
he had come to Jaipur. And I told him, Yashish, I'm going through a bad time and जिंदगी में मैं जो चाहता हूँ मेरे को होता ही नहीं है. He said, तुम क्या बोल रहे हो यार जिंदगी में जो
Hmm.
चाहते हैं हम exactly हमको वही मिलता है. And this thing, embellished itself on my mind that he's absolutely right. And then I started thinking positively. I started slowly, made lifestyle changes, having more discipline in my schedule, waking up at the right time, sleeping at the right time. Small things, controlling my diet, controlling my mind, and studying systematically for the UPSC. Earlier, I had no
Hmm.
purpose in life and I did not know how to study when I was in IT. Suddenly before the exam, 6 hours before the exam, I will make a night out, remain awake throughout the night to study. But for the UPSC, you can't do this. The syllabus is huge and you have to prepare for a long period of time. So I started meeting the right people who had already been successful for the civil services. And very effectively, I planned everything, how I have to go about my studies. I had a perfect balance between hard work, studies, and me time. I used to go for a
Hmm.
swim every day for 2 hours, relax, have a good sleep. So these things made a huge difference, not only for my preparation, for me physically and mentally and spiritually also. And I
Hmm.
started visualizing myself in the uniform of an IPS officer. Obviously, it was
Yeah.
not only daydreaming, I used to work hard for that. And
Hmm.
here I am in front of you. That was a time when I started thinking positive. And over the last 25 years, I don't remember a day when I thought negative. I always think positive.
Mm.
And maybe I've been
Mhm.
extremely lucky. Maybe there's somebody up there looking for me. But whatever I've desired or dreamt of, I've
Mm.
been getting all that.
Mhm.
It's not that it's just
Mm.
coming to me like that on a platter. I worked hard for all that, but I always believe, always strongly desire, strong. I'm always optimistic that this thing will happen. Never think
Mm.
negative. Even during the times of Corona, I know it's a pandemic.
Mm.
It's spreading very fast. People are losing their lives. It's unfortunate, but at the same time, I do not lose hope. I'm
Mm.
always positive. I have to inspire confidence in my subordinates also. As police officers, we have to work every day. We have to interact with the public. We have to be out on the roads. We cannot isolate ourselves in our houses. Even during a lockdown, our police officers, our policemen, constables, they have all been working very hard.
Mm.
So I have to inspire confidence in them, and for that, I have to always think positive. It's
Mm.
not that I've thrown caution to the winds. I always tell them that you be careful, maintain some social distancing, wear a mask, but at the same time, think positively. Don't think that, if something will happen to me and all this. In my line of work, anyway, as a
Mm.
police officer, if not Corona, something else will happen. So
Yeah.
you have to be very, very positive about everything.
Yeah. So what I got from the phase that you were in, where you were depressed and having the suicidal thoughts and feeling that hey, everything is going wrong, you were playing victim. You were operating from the place that nothing can go right from me. And then, suddenly you decided to kind of take control of your life, saying that, hey, you know what? I can control my life and I'm going to decide what my fate holds instead of just putting responsibility in someone else or just blaming the system, blaming someone else. And, to now taking the ownership of your life, saying that I'm the one who's going to make that change. Now I'm going to put the work. I'm going to study hard. I'm going to make a schedule. I'm going to go for the swimming and took the ownership of your life, right? I come across a lot of people, and I have been in that place where a lot of people do things whether out of the pressure or whether they don't like or something, and then they see that things are not going wrong. So, what would be your message to people who are in that phase right now, who might be listening to us, saying that, hey, you know what, nothing seems to be going right in my life? What would be your message when you look back at your own life journey?
See, I know it will sound very cliched, Vijay, but this is a fact of life that you have to believe in yourself. There's no other way. Either you lose hope, remain depressed, give up on everything, or else you pick yourself up and believe in yourself, work hard. It's not that you just keep sitting and something will happen. And ultimately, hard work always pays, it never fails. And if you have confidence in yourself, your abilities, you do your best, sooner or later you'll get your due. Sometimes results are instant, sometimes it takes longer period. But I've never seen somebody, whether he's an actor, a cricket player, a bureaucrat like me, a student, who has worked hard and he's not got what he desires.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a level below his desire, a notch below, but ultimately he gets what he wants in life. So that is very true. And everybody will have his share of ups and downs. There are so many things that happen all around us, but how we react to a situation is in our hands. For example, this coronavirus thing right now, it is happening. None of us ever imagined this could happen to us in the 21st century, when technology, science, everything, medical field, everything is so developed. Still, it has happened.
Yeah.
It has reminded us how mortal we are. So many things are not in our hands, but how we react to it depends on us. So many people have done their best during coronavirus also. They've built up new businesses, risen like the phoenix. So things will go on. You have to believe in yourself. Something or the other will always keep happening. It's not that I've become an IPS officer or somebody becomes a billionaire so their journey is ended. It's never like that. Something or the other will keep happening. But you know the old saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. So
Mm.
you have to believe in yourself. I know it is like sermonizing, but there's no other way out.
Yeah.
And the more positive you think, the more positive things happen around you. That has been my experience. I tell it to my children, I tell it to my family members. A few of my family members also, got infected by coronavirus. Somebody else got a cancer last year. But the only thing that I could have done was to give them a positive feeling that, there was one option that I go there, stay depressed around them. Other thing was that I stay cheerful
Mm-hmm.
and told them, let's fight it out. And
Yeah.
it made a huge difference. Sounds, very philosophical, or, how can it possible? But people have actually beaten diseases like cancer and many, many things in life just by thinking positively.
Absolutely.
There's a science behind all this. You know it. If you think positively, you release the right hormones, your body starts creating antibodies,
Hmm.
it increases your immunity. The same thing holds true in the times of Corona also. The same thing holds true during cancer, a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So I always think and think positively.
So I have kind of kept myself away as much as possible to consume news. And the reason for that is I have realized like the more news I consume, more it affects my mental health because a lot of things that's happening which are not in my control. And whether I look at the news or not, nothing's going to change about that news by me watching or not reading that news piece, right? And especially the negative ones. And because of that, I try to stay updated, but not try to dive deep and go into the rabbit hole of the things or scenario that's happening around. Now, you have mentioned a couple of times about during our conversation about thinking positively and also keeping your mind healthy. Now, for somebody like you, who is day in and out dealing with all these sort of situations, dealing with a lot of criminals and all these things going, like how do you separate yourself from the work that you are doing and being exposed to hell lot of negativity, and then here you are, you have to stay positive and inspire the team and also take care of your mental health. How do you do that?
See, Vijay, I knew very well what I signed up for.
Mm.
As an IPS officer, I'll largely hear negative news. The later the call I get in the day or in the night, the more difficult the news will be. Yesterday night, I got a call at 1:30 that our daughter is missing. So I couldn't have said, I'm going out to sleep. I'll look at it tomorrow when I come to office. Immediately, we sprang into action, and luckily, this girl had gone with her cousin only. But for us, it
Mm.
was a huge thing. The girl
Yeah.
missing for 4 hours, that's a big thing. So I always think positive. This is my job. I take great pride in it. First of all, if you take great pride in your job, have passion
Mm-hmm.
about what you're doing, it doesn't remain a job. You
Mm.
start enjoying it, then you will not feel the stress.
Mm.
You are making a podcast every day. If you start enjoying it, then it's so much of fun. What do you think? I have to just make a podcast and then how many people listen to it? You start thinking about the results, then it's not going to make anything good for you. But if you involve yourself fully in your job, immerse yourself, then
Mm.
ultimately the product will be good and you'll get the results or the appreciation for it.
Mm.
So that is one thing. And I'm always cool. I take a deep breath whenever there's a crisis
Mm-hmm.
because whatever has happened has happened. Now my job is to get it done rightly again. I have to put things into order again, and I'm paid for that as a senior IPS officer. That
Yeah.
is why the government has put me in a place that something has gone wrong, a communal tension has happened, a riot has broken out. You put everything in order again. So if I lose faith in myself, if I'm not cool, if I'm not confident, how do I expect my jawans and my officers
Mm-hmm.
to stand up to the bats and the volley of stones coming at us? We have to be very confident, very positive, and we have to look for a solution. And that way, it has become a part of my lifestyle, my culture, and I always keep myself positive and I have a wonderful work life balance.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy the good things in life. I love reading books, I love listening to music, watching films, playing sport every day. It is great. It is a great stress buster for me. I play for 2 hours every day.
Mm.
So these kind of things keep me sane. I have a wonderful support system of family and friends.
Mm.
And this is, for all these things, you don't require a lot of money or anything like that. It's just the simple pleasures of life.
Yeah.
So it gives me a lot of stability and I enjoy eating good food. So many things, small things in life, but this keeps me very balanced and I have a good sense of humor.
Mm.
I find out humor everywhere, even in the worst situation. And I
Mm.
know that even in the most serious meetings, we do have a laugh. Otherwise, we'll become like zombies or robots
Yeah.
or machines.
Mm.
So I have a good sense of humor. And if you read my books, Bihar Diaries as well as Life in the Uniform,
Yeah.
both of which are incidentally bestsellers. I'm
Mm.
so delighted that my new book, it is not even 1 month of its launch, it's already a bestseller. It is sold out totally. And people have loved the humor in the book.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
nobody expects an IPS officer to have humor.
Mm.
But I tell people it's a must, not only for me, it's a must for everybody. Something or the other will go wrong every day. So, must know how to laugh at that situation. More importantly, laughing at yourself. We should take our work seriously, but not ourselves. We often take ourselves so seriously instead of
Yeah.
our work. And one should always have, a self-deprecatory humor. That way, I'm good.
Mm.
And I think for that, one should get married. If you get married, your wife will always pull your leg or make fun of you, keep you fully grounded. So
Uh,
that is also an important thing. You don't fly too much.
yeah, absolutely. So you have shared a fair bit of what are the things that keeps you sane. One you mentioned is like sports. You play sports and having a great support system and the family and having a good circle of friends where you can kind of de-stress and not think about your day-to-day kind of crimes and stuff that you deal with. But I'm sure there are some crimes which are beyond one's imagination and you are exposed to that. I'm sure that affects to you on an emotional level and mental level, right? Has that ever happened to you? And if that happens, then does that in any way come in the way for you to do your job in a certain way that needs to be done? Is there any experience like that that you'd like to share with us?
See, there have been many, many harrowing incidents where you feel really bad, you feel jolted.
Hmm.
For example, in my first book, Bihar Diaries, I mentioned how a criminal, a very
Yeah.
dangerous criminal of Bihar, he killed 15 people in a span of 24 hours.
Hmm.
That was a gruesome sight, and anybody, any normal human being, will get rattled after seeing so many dead bodies, torsos without their heads lying on the ground. So obviously, I did feel bad about it, but then I steeled myself. I had a more strong resolve that I have to arrest this man. I have to put him behind bars. I have to bring him to justice.
Mm-hmm.
So these kind of things do shake me. I'm a human being. I'm very sensitive to the things that happen around me, and truly that makes me a better officer. Because if I'm not
Mm.
sensitive to all the wrongdoings or all the crimes that happen around me, I will never be able to bring justice to the victims who have been wronged. So I do get rattled. I do feel bad, but I'm very strong. I don't show it externally. I keep my thoughts to myself. Maybe I'll share with my wife or somebody very close. But then I'll pull myself up and get on with the job. And
Mm.
every time these kind of things have happened, we have to come up with even greater resolve to ensure that these criminals or these perpetrators are put behind bars.
Absolutely. So you mentioned about the criminal that you have dealt with in Bihar, and you talk about it in greater detail in your book, first book, Bihar Diaries. And I must say, I loved the read. I can almost visualize every single scene that has happened. And at the same time, as you mentioned, it's the fun way of presenting it really adds to the entire story. Having to deal with somebody like, and it's almost like a movie story. In fact, like it's being now converted into movie. So when I was going through that book, and it was nothing short of a Bollywood movie that's happening, and it's almost like all the scenes and everything that has happened in it's almost like a scene in a movie. Please be honest with me. Were you scared when you were executing this mission?
Not at all. I was not scared. In fact, I was very thrilled. I was excited
Hmm.
because it was a cat and mouse chase and it was a battle of wits between the two of us. The criminal was also very intelligent. He had a deep, entrenched network, even in the police department. If you read
Yeah,
the book, you'll know about the mole who was in our police department. So it had
yeah,
all the ingredients of a Bollywood movie, or you can say even a Hollywood web series, whatever you can call it.
yeah.
And I never imagined, when I actually narrated this incident to a few of my senior colleagues, then they told me that this is exactly like a film. It's like a movie script. So it
Yeah.
never occurred to me before that, a movie could
Mm,
be made on this.
mm,
And it was purely by chance that my dear friend Akshay Kumar introduced me to Neeraj Pandey, the acclaimed director. And
mm,
I narrated this story to him, and he said, "It's wonderful. We have to make this film." And now we are making a web series, a major web series. It should be out this year. And both my books are being made into web series, 2 seasons of web series. I'm very happy, very delighted that the web series and the books they will definitely change the perspective an average Indian has about the police of India of our country.
mm,
And people have a lot of wrong notions about the police in this country. They're
mhm.
much vilified, much pilloried. Certain things are right. Obviously, we do have black sheep in our department. A lot of people
Absolutely.
do the things which are not supposed to be done. But then
Mhm.
we should not forget the sacrifices and the work done by so many other valiant police officers and constables who actually lay their lives for the country in the line of
Mm.
duty.
Yeah.
So they are the good, the bad, the ugly in every department. Police is no different. But I'm very sure that my web series and the books, they've already brought in a lot of positive air for the police.
Absolutely. So, when you go on these critical missions or to get these kind of really dangerous criminals, where oftentimes there are the situations where you also don't know, like, if you are going to come back alive, right? So when you are going on these kind of missions, what do you usually, tell to your family members or the people near and dear ones? Is there anything that
I
you tell
just
them?
tell them that I'll come back by this time and make aloo parathas for me or aloo puri or whatever my favorite delicacy.
Mm-hmm.
Those are unhealthy things, but I love gorging on pizzas and Maggi noodles and all those unhealthy things. So whenever I go for these kind of things, I always tell my wife or my staff that I need these things when I come back. So I always it's kind of imprinting something positively that nothing wrong will happen and I'll be back by this time, and usually it turns out like that. Sometimes I can be a little late, but I always
Mm.
come back home. So
Yeah.
these things do happen, and it's a professional hazard. As I told you, I
Yeah.
knew very well what I've signed up for.
Yeah.
So in the police,
Absolutely.
when they give you training how to use arms, how to
Mm-hmm.
fight unarmed, we are taught a lot of things, right from horse riding to mountaineering.
Mm.
So we are trained for this, and this is the reason our lives or other people's life can always be in danger in
Yeah.
Chopadi. We should be able to tackle the situation.
Yeah.
So we are well trained for that, and this is my job. So there are no ifs and buts about it. And I get concerned. It's not that I just go like that. I take all precautions,
Mm-hmm.
but I never think negatively. This is what I signed up for, and
Yeah.
I feel that yes, definitely we're better off than the criminals, more organized, more trained, with better resources. So we should be back home trumps.
Yeah. The criminal that you mentioned about, right? Almost as we said on like in a movie scene, you got both of them in the bars, and the next thing that happens is one of the two people that you put in gets out on a bail and decides to go after, your family. And then they try to, attempt to your kids and wife. And so I want to like understand, and it would be great if you can like walk us into your life, take us there in your life, or the family conversation that you have between your kids and wife.
These things happened, and obviously I am concerned about my family, and I still keep a tab on all the criminals I've arrested, the dangerous ones as you're talking about, and I ensure that there's sufficient security. But then life goes on, you know that. Life
Mm-hmm.
goes on, and I can't lose my sleep over it. It's a professional hazard, as I told earlier also,
Hmm.
and I'm well trained for tackling all these situations.
Yeah.
So we don't discuss all these things, otherwise you can't live, you can't survive.
Hmm.
Every day some new challenge will come, then I should not be in the service in the first place.
Absolutely. So for all of this, it requires a lot of mental toughness, where you need to be really, really strong mentally, and you need to have a lot of layers that kind of not let you be negative and let everything kind of get into mental peace. So from the lessons that you have learned and becoming tough in your own life, when you look back at, for the people who are looking at becoming tougher mentally, are there any tips that you'd like to share on how they can develop this mental toughness?
See, mental toughness, you have to start from yourself. You don't need to read any self-help books or go for some life coaches or classes. That's my personal take. We all know the secrets of happiness or mental toughness or whatever. So you look at, I always give this example of tennis players. I love playing tennis. I'm a fairly good player of tennis. So, what is the difference between Novak Djokovic, Federer, Nadal, and the rest of the people?
Hmm.
Why are they dominating? They also have the same shots, the same physical attributes, the same fitness. They're mentally tough because they believe that
Hmm.
they can play one more shot, and they're always in control of themselves. They know when they're down, also they can come back. So mental toughness now for them it has become a way of life. That's why they are winning so many Grand Slams. Non-stop. They are the ones who are winning everything.
Yeah.
So this is true for other fields also. We'll see that some film star always delivers hits. So we'll say he has an uncanny, maybe he's very lucky, but we don't realize that he's an uncanny sense of selecting the right scripts according
Hmm.
to the changing scenarios in the society. A lot of
Hmm.
people do that. So we should understand that this all becomes a part of your psyche, your mentality, because you have worked hard for that. You prepare when you are in bad shape. You're a sportsman. You're out of favor. You're out of the team. So you prepare yourself during those 5, 6 months or whatever, and you come back stronger. You learn from your mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, and these are experiences. I won't call them failures.
Hmm.
So mentally tough, slowly then you understand that this situation has been there earlier also. So how do you deal with that? You have to control your faculties, your mental faculties, your emotions. And I know it sounds very easy, but it comes with practice and then it becomes second nature. There's so
Hmm.
many players, will say Dhoni is a great finisher. In the last 2 overs, there was a time when he could have done anything.
Hmm.
Impossible task he could have done because he believed in himself. But it's not that he just believed; he practiced all those shots, different kinds of ball. And the practice was so much. They probably hit 1,000 balls that it becomes second nature. That the moment that ball comes in their zone, your body, your mind exactly knows how to hit that shot as a reflex.
Yeah.
So these things happen as a police officer also to me that a certain situation comes, my gut feeling, my instinct, my reflexes will tell me what to do, what not to do. But I can't keep relying on somebody or keep sitting that somebody else will come and save me from that situation.
Hmm.
Similarly, for a sportsman, he has to play the shots. The coach cannot play the shots for him from outside. So
Hmm.
you have to fight your own battles, your own wars, and take control of life. And as I told you, everybody goes through ups and downs. There's nobody in this world, richest man in the world to the poorest man. Everybody has his share of struggles. It depends on you how you take things in your control, how you react to it. So as I told earlier, also I firmly believe in positive thinking that this too shall pass and I'll be able to come out of it. And let me see
Hmm.
what I can do about the situation. There have been many situations where I've been able to tackle them because of my personal confidence. There have been times when I had to seek somebody's help. There have been times when I knew that I cannot do anything, nobody can do anything about it. So let it go also. You can't have a perfect life. If the stock market crashed last year, so many people lost their savings, but then you can't do anything about it. It is
Yeah.
a global thing. It's not that only you lost. Everybody lost. And somebody was patient or who had the belief in himself must have invested again and was handsomely rewarded. So this is the way of life. And it holds true
Yeah.
for every single field.
Absolutely. So you mentioned about Indian police often being kind of seen on the bad light. Do you think policing in India is underappreciated?
It is, I won't say underappreciated. There are a lot of people who get accolades. There's so many police officers who favors all over the country. You know the names. There's so many of them. So it's not that people don't appreciate them, but it's that the black sheep or the bad apples of our department often bring disrepute and they undo the good work done by a lot of other unsung heroes. That is unfortunate. That is
Hmm.
unfortunate. Otherwise, I won't say that they're not appreciated. I've been working for the last 23 years, always had the best of experiences everywhere. The public is so supportive everywhere whenever you do good work. So that way it is all good. See, you always get what you deserve in life.
Yeah.
So if you are working well as a police officer, whether you're constable or you're a DIG or IG or whatever, people
Hmm.
know about your reputation, your work. So
Yeah.
that way it's irrespective of your department. You can be pilloried and you can be crucified or you can be garlanded. It's both ways. So I always believe that you keep on doing your work and appreciation will come your way sooner or later.
So what are the few things that you wish Indian general public knew more about, police officers?
See, police officers and particularly the lower subordinates, they have a very stressful life.
Hmm.
We are supposed to solve everybody's problem, even personal
Hmm.
problems. For example, husband and wife have dispute. The wife will
Hmm.
give us a call late in the night that my husband is misbehaving with me. You can't say that, it's your personal problem, you take care of it. As I told you last night, a girl had ran away with her cousin somewhere. We can't say, you go and find your daughter, it's your problem, not mine.
Hmm.
There's a communal tension, there's a VIP visit, there's a lockdown during Corona. Everything comes under the purview of the police. So the police is always full of work. There's no rest for them. It's a 24-hour job and understaffed, under-resourced, and constantly under pressure from everyone, including seniors like me.
Hmm.
And the public, the media, everybody scrutinizes the work of the police. But then, as I told, all of us know what we have signed up for. There can be times that we are very frustrated, very disappointed, very down, but we have to pull ourselves up and look forward to the next challenge because people have great expectations from us. They look upon anyone look up to anybody who is in the uniform, whether it's in the army or the police. You have to act as a role model, and for that, I would just exhort the public also to be a little more patient and also change because in India, I've observed that public knows very much about its privileges, but they do not know what their duties. They know about their duties, but they are not willing to take any responsibility. It is one of the few countries where the top leadership, the Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, has to exhort the people to keep the country clean. And I've seen so many educated people throwing litter on
Mm.
the roads. It's so unfortunate. So if we just change the mentality, our citizens start following the laws,
Yeah.
pay taxes on
Mm.
time, don't jump traffic lights when there's no CCTV or no policemen around. There's small things, but
Mm.
if we take care of all these issues, a lot of good things will happen in our country. And I'm very optimistic,
Mm.
very positive, very sanguine that the future belongs to India. The next generation, particularly youngsters, I've seen young boys in their 20s, even teenagers, they're very, very good. So we must be doing something right somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's an interesting question that's coming on my mind right now, which is, you have dealt with so many criminals. And again, going back to the story that share in the Bihar Diaries, one of the criminals, like which you have named as a Hurlix, he calls his wife and says that make our son study hard. I want him to be an IPS officer. So having this kind of experiences and looking closely at the criminal mindset, what have you understood about the human in general? Has there any shift in the perception about criminals generally? Like, what? I'm just curious.
Some criminals are victims of circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Some criminals are born to be criminals. You simply cannot do anything about it. Their mind
Mm.
is like that only. Dawood Ibrahim, his father was a constable and very honest constable, very upright, very ethical, very religious person.
Mm.
Who could have imagined a police constable's son becoming one of the most dreaded criminals of India? Osama bin Laden was a billionaire's son, and yet he chose to stay in caves and bomb the world and finish off half the humanity. So there are all kinds of people. So I really can't judge anybody. It's difficult to get into somebody's mind. For some people, it's a very natural thing that you killed somebody. For some people, even killing a fly is a big thing. How could I kill an ant? There are people like that also. So I really don't know. I just go about my job. And but yes, there are people who have reformed also, who have done petty
Mm-hmm.
crimes and they've realized that they were in the wrong. It's all individual's choice.
So I've asked some of my listeners saying that, hey, I'm going to have Inspector General of the police who have done these incredible, crazy missions. So what are the questions that you want to ask? And a lot of them send the messages saying that, hey, these are the questions that we'd like to know. Here's this one question which says that, what was one of the toughest mission and how your perspective about life changed after that mission?
I had an encounter with Naxalites, and I'll be honest, I made a lot of mistakes in the heat of the moment. As a professional,
Mm.
I was trained to do a lot of things which I could not follow that time. I mentioned it in my book, Life in the Uniform. But
Mm.
then I realized I made, as I told you, I learned from my mistakes very quickly. Next time, I never repeated those mistakes and showed that my men
Mm.
and I were safe, and we caused minimum damage to property or civilians around us. Yet we managed to arrest so many Naxalites, and for that I got the gallantry medal also. So things do happen. My perspective for life, I would say it has always been the same for the last 24, 25. I was always thinking positive. It's not that one single incident has changed me, and it really, I'm beyond that now. I'm constantly evolving. So it's not that I wait for some incident to happen. I do
Mm-hmm.
make mistakes every day. I still make blunders, but then I realize that this was not done. I should understand from that. And next time I will not do that. But most
Mm-hmm.
importantly, I'm in control of my emotions and my faculty. That is very important for me. How I react to a thing. So as a police officer, as I told you earlier also, it depends on me how I react. So there are two options.
Mm.
One is I get tensed and start shouting at my subordinates, which is a very easy thing to do, that I will take
Yeah.
action against you and you have been irresponsible, you have been useless. A lot of people do that. But I believe in the other thing, that whatever has happened has happened. Now we'll take charge of the situation. I'll motivate my subordinates that we'll do our best. So I belong to that school of thought.
So that was a question from Minakshi. And Avishek also asked this another question. He says, what are the three biggest challenges that he faces at work and how do you deal with them?
Challenges, I really don't know because everything that comes our way is a challenge.
Yeah.
So, as I told you, my work is my passion. I enjoy my work, so I don't take it as a challenge. But yes, otherwise, if you ask me, obviously, under resourced, understaffed, not having the right people at the right place sometimes,
Hmm.
you do not get. A lot of people ask me about cyber crimes. So, there are a lot of police officers who are still not aware of the latest techniques in the cyber world. So, it's
Yeah.
not possible for me to solve all cyber crimes. So,
Yeah.
it's a small thing, but challenges, otherwise, I will say no challenges as such. But constantly we have to be on our toes, and something or the other will keep happening. Sometimes a communal riot, sometimes tension between two communities, tension between two families in a neighborhood. Anything will happen anytime.
Yeah.
VIP visit can go wrong. So to always prepared for that, keep things under control as much as possible.
Awesome. So now I have a round, what I called is an enlightening round, where I'm going to ask you some questions where, you can give the short answers to each of the questions that I'm going to share. So here's the first one. What inspires you to do everything that you do?
I love life and I love my job. So I always want to evolve as a human being and keep learning new things. So that is my inspiration, that I feel blessed that God has given me one life and let me make the best out of
What is the one wrong belief about yourself that you have held for the longest period of time in your life?
it. That I was a loser, that nothing right can happen in my life. I had a terrible time, as I told you, in IIT, and it was my own doing. I started thinking very negatively about myself, and then I changed myself, luckily in the nick of time.
If you were to start this journey all over again, what are those three things probably you would have done differently, or maybe started early?
Not a single thing, Vijay. Because I don't know how. As I told you, I was a disaster in IIT, but I've been a huge so-called success in police. Not only in terms of postings and so-called achievements, but otherwise also because I've lived every day very positively, and everything has been perfect as a police officer. Even the worst crimes have ultimately been solved, and we have always got accolades. Even if a bank has been looted, it's not that we ended up on the loser side. We arrested everybody. And finally, it was our pictures which came in the newspapers that police team has busted this gang and all this. So everything ultimately has turned out to be very positive for us and my team. So I have no complaints at all. I won't change anything. Perfect.
Awesome. Which one daily habit of yours do you believe has been game changer for you in your journey?
Thinking positive, as I told you, about everything, whether I play a sport, whether I watch a film, I'll even watch a film with a positive mind. In the sense that if I decided I have to go to the movie hall at 9 o'clock, then I'm positive that by 5:36, I'll finish off all my work. I'll go to play my tennis for 2 hours and then I'll go and watch a film. So that plan of going to the movie has to be, actually fructified in reality. For that, you have to work hard throughout the day. You ensure that no work is pending. So that way, I'm always positive about everything.
What is your definition of success?
I really don't believe in success. It's everybody's own journey. I don't know why people, somebody's a billionaire. Still, he can be very poor compared to Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates. Jeff Bezos is worth $160 billion and somebody's worth 100 crores in India. So he's a pauper in front of him. So it's all
Mhm.
relative. But for me, happiness is more important. And happiness comes from having things which you desire. So I love
Mhm.
sports. I love watching films, eating good food, having a good chat with friends and family, having a very relaxed life away from after policing. So for me, that is happiness and no attachments to anything, any worldly thing. I do live a good life. Let me tell you, I watch films on Netflix. I go for lovely dinners and all that. But if all the things are not around me, even then I'm not bothered. The internet connection is gone for 6 hours, so I'll not get restless. I enjoy the things when they are around, but I'm detached also with them. So I'm in quite a good state of affairs, very happy, very peaceful, very tranquil with myself.
Awesome. So I have read your book Bihar Diaries, and I'm so looking forward to reading Life in the Uniform, which I'm going to pick this weekend, and I'm really looking forward to that book. And I would like to congratulate you for the success of both of these books, and also the Netflix series that's coming up. And I'm super excited for that. For people who'd like to learn more about your work, or just want to get in touch with you, what is the best platform to get in touch with you?
I'm also on social media, though my wife hates being addicted to internet, but I'm also on the social media now. I have to change with the times. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm all the three platforms. Not very active, but I get messages every day from readers all over the world, not only from India. Even I was surprised people writing mails from Ontario, and one mail I got from South Africa. So that way I'm very blessed, very lucky. Even people from Bangladesh have written to me that we are policemen in Bangladesh and we're inspired by your stories in India. So that is the power
That's
of
amazing.
storytelling. A good story can travel all over the world. And of course, after this web series, I think a lot of people across the world will enjoy the life of a policeman in India. So I've been in a very good space and very thankful to whatever I've got.
So, could you share a book or two that you have read which have influenced you in the recent past?
Not exactly influenced, but I love reading autobiographies of all people, how they have conquered themselves. People talk about conquering on obstacles, but first of all, you have to conquer yourself. I loved Agassi's Open. So many people have written about their, life. So I love it. Even that famous book, lovely book, To Kill a Mockingbird. I love
Mm,
the character of Atticus Finch. I don't get inspired by people, but yes, I always learn from other people's journey. Novak Djokovic, he was a perpetual world number three, always losing to Federer Nadal, and then suddenly he discovers his mental reserves, his inner
mm,
strength, and he's the perpetual number one now. So how
yeah.
things can turn around if you start believing in yourself.
Awesome. So, I have one last question that I want to ask you. So, imagine that you are standing on a stage of the largest stadium that has ever been built in the history of the world. And there are millions and millions of people on that stadium. And they are eagerly and passionately waiting to listen to you. And you have given only 1 minute of time to share the most important lesson that you have learned in your life. What would be your message?
I will repeat it a number of times during this interview. The only message I have is that, this is one life. Make the best of it. Be your best version. I play tennis, so obviously I know I can't be Federer. I'm not gifted like him. I'm not even, India number one lakh or whatever. But I enjoy my game every day. So
Mm,
whatever I can do, I do that best. On the tennis court, I'm 100% there. I'm doing my best. I'm trying to retrieve every ball. I'm 47 now. My opponents at times are 22, 21 years old guys who make me run around the court. But I'll do my best. I'll do my best. And enjoy life and always think positive. Always think positive because there's no other way out. And you see, there's so many stories around us, people who do not have, limbs and still they are scaling Mount Everest. People can do anything. It's unbelievable. I've read about a blind man in Hyderabad who has a 500 crore business. So you
mm,
always believe in things that you can do, and everybody has his share of ups and downs. Nobody's life is perfect, not mine for sure. But do the best, and that's it. Know the formula in life and enjoy the small pleasures of life and live your life, not somebody else's life. That is the worst thing people do when they go on Facebook or see things people are doing. These things I must also do that. It's not your life. You do that if you enjoy it. For some people, wearing branded clothes. A lot of my friends are into all these things. They can afford it and enjoy it. I have no complaints at all. For me, reading a book is more important. They don't enjoy the books. I'm not saying that they're wrong, I'm right. It's everybody's personal. I had gone to Rome once with a group of friends. I was about to enter the Colosseum, and suddenly four of my friends said that "Hey, we are seeing a Zara brand showroom in front of us. We're going for shopping there." So I didn't complain, didn't shout at them. I'm never judgmental. If they're happy doing that, let them do it. I was happy looking at the history of Rome. For them, maybe it was not important. So I'm not judgmental at all. So do your job, do whatever makes you happy. And that's it. It's not very difficult, Vijay. It's not very difficult.
absolutely. Be your best version. It's been a great conversation. Really, really enjoyed this conversation. I don't know how it went for you, but I got a ton to learn from this. Thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
Right, Vijay? All the best to you. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Inspiring Talk. I hope you learned something from our conversation. If you enjoy listening to The Inspiring Talk, consider sending me a voice message with your feedback by visiting theinspiringtalk.com/speak. That is theinspiringtalk.com/SPEAK, speak. You can access all the links and resources mentioned on this episode by visiting theinspiringtalk.com/112. Thanks again for listening. I'll catch you in the next. Now, go out there and do something inspiring.